Preston Lopez Show. I'm your host, Preston Lopez, and we've been on the air for over 22 years. Like I said before, it's kind of old, but I was like 3 years old when I started the show.
Oh, sure.
What are you trying to say? Anyways, we're here with Mr. Lester Blum, and thanks for being on the show. I'm giving you a hand because I haven't seen you in a long time.
I know.
And last time you were on the show, you were talking about, I had you on the show like 2 years ago. We were doing that World AIDS Awareness, and
right.
And you were. What book was that from? What other project was that from?
Well, it was from a photography project called I Still Remember, which was a remembrance about the whole generation that was devastated because of AIDS.
Okay, and you also had the Invisible Project, which if they don't know, you could explain what was that about? Because it's just a list of all these projects that you've done. I want them to know what you've done before we get to the next project.
Well, Invisible was a collaboration with Vlad Rios, and basically it's a project that addressed people's feelings of invisibility, or society treats them as being invisible. And the causes ranged anywhere from being mentally, physically disabled to weight issues, sexuality, and one of the things that we learned during the whole project and interviewing the 20 people that were involved in the project, there's an underlying theme. The theme was depression and thoughts of suicide. So it's a very important and a real issue into society today, this whole feeling of invisibility.
And they that book helped a lot of people, I believe. Yeah, right?
I would hope so. It was more than just the book. It was photography,
the
portraits
images,
of the people,
yeah, they had the images.
And it was also their statements, their individual statements, and then we also did a short video of the people talking about their invisibility.
So Warrior of Hope, that was what? I remember that also, another project that you did.
That again was another project that was created by Vladimir Rios, and I had the pleasure of photographing it. And that was a project that the character, Warrior of Hope, was a fictional character, and he was created basically to give people hope. Hope for many reasons, whether they're ill, which was the prime reason that the project was created, but just if they're in despair in society in general, it's to offer them a symbol of hope.
Let's get back to well, you also work. So you're a professional photographer, right?
I consider myself semi-professional, but yes.
And you had then again, you're an award-winning photographer because you did some projects that won awards.
Right. The first one was actually a project that was almost pushed upon me by Vladimir Rios. It was a project called Despair, where he wanted me to capture aspects of his life when he was really in a bad state, and he wanted to memorialize that. I personally didn't feel I was capable of capturing what he wanted, but after several months of being pushed and pushed, I finally agreed to do the photography. And the end result was that the lead picture, Despair, won an award at the Salmagundi Art Club downtown in Manhattan, and then subsequently won 4 other awards throughout the nation.
Oh, that's good. Congrats.
So I guess I was able to capture his feeling of despair.
Oh, this guy is Rios is a character. As a matter of fact, we're going to have him later on the show. He's going to explain exactly what he did. So now let's get back to your latest project, which is...
well, the current project is Beyond the Swirl. It's actually a children's book. And the book was written for like 6 to 12-year-olds. And it's a story of adventure, drama, mystery, and it's enjoyed by adults as well as by children. So it's a very interesting story. It takes place actually in the world of dinosaurs, and it's the children's struggle, Kathy and Alex, their struggle getting back into the real world.
Now, was Kathy and Alex, okay, was Alex based on you or you growing up, or?
No, actually, no.
No, it's fictional?
No, Alex, the actual character and the personality of the character of Alex was based on one of my grandnephews.
Oh, okay.
Actually, two of my grandnephews. Visually, the older one, who just turned 11, and some of his personality characteristics are the second grandnephew who just turned 7. The character of Kathy is actually a conglomeration of one of our friends upstate's both daughters, Lucy and Greta. So it's a combination, and visually, Greta kind of inspired the visual.
Okay, and so you wrote the book, right?
That is correct.
And somebody else, who did the illustration?
The illustrations were done by actually an international renowned artist, Fung Wong.
Okay.
And he's actually a fine artist, and this was the first time that he's done a book illustration. And we'll show some pictures that.
Yeah, we'll be showing it as we put the show, and we'll show it afterwards. Also, so who else wrote it? Was Rios also involved in the book?
Rios was definitely involved in the book. He wasn't involved in the actual writing, but then again, he was involved in the writing.
He's always there.
Because basically, I had the storyline laid out, pretty well written. Rios edited, and he's reading it, and he's going, we need to lift this up a little. It needs to be more cinematic.
Like embellished, or
embellished,
more action?
More drama, more visual. Not just, here is the story. Here is the story would be a book that like a 3 to 5-year-old would read. What ended out with his pushing once again to make it more cinematic is a story that goes from a 6 to 12, and adults actually enjoy the story.
Adults could also read this book. They could.
Oh yeah. I've had adults buy the book without any inclination of giving it to children, just for themselves. Because the story, besides being the storyline itself, it transcends the story. It also, deals in the relationship of the siblings, the brother and the sister. It deals with the unknown. It deals with the acceptance of these creatures, the dinosaurs, and how the children reacted. So there's a lot of depth to the story, other than just see Tom and Dick, run up the hill and Jane came tumbling down, or whatever the storyline would be. So there's a lot of depth to the story.
Speaking of dinosaurs, I know you have like a prop. Well, it's not a prop.
No,
what is
not
it? A toy?
Prop.
It's something that you had you said over. Oh, there it is.
Okay.
Look at this. You can just show it as a camera right here.
It's a baby pterodactyl, and
you got this. Don't tell me you got this 60 years ago.
66 years ago.
60. You have this for 66 years ago.
I've had him for 66 years. The story is kind of an interesting story. When I was 6 years old, so now I'm giving my age away. So you're 3, you started the show. Well, I started this at 6. Well, anyway. My aunt and uncle took me on an excursion to the American Museum of Natural History in Manhattan.
I was there last week,
Yeah, fabulous.
Yes.
And so, of course, I was attracted to the dinosaur exhibit. Don't ask me why, but I was. And on the way out, my aunt said, come, we'll go to the gift shop and get you a souvenir. So I got 2 things. I got my little pterodactyl and a book about dinosaurs. Well, the book has since disintegrated from reading it so many times when I was young, but the pterodactyl has been with me all this time. And I think basically he was the muse for Beyond the Swirl. because all throughout childhood, I used to create stories. Some of them had to do with dinosaurs. It was like we didn't have television, we didn't have the computer,
Yeah.
so you used your imagination and created a world. Then when my nephew was born, instead of reading him the obligatory children's stories for bedtime, I would make up stories. So
That's a great story.
then he has children, and I decided, you know what? I think it's time that some of these stories get written down. Consequently, Beyond the Swirl.
And there it is. Well, let me ask you one last question. So what are your hopes for this book? I mean, do you want to probably make it into a feature film, a musical, perform as a dance number, or something like
Any
that?
and all of the above.
Oh.
The book, yes, we want the book to, be sold in every major bookstore in the United States.
And we'll give the information at the end of the show. We'll put all the information how you get the book.
Yes. But in addition to that, more importantly than just being in the bookstores, the book was written, as I said before, in a cinematic manner. So it lends itself perfectly to either an animated series, a live action film, an off-Broadway children's production. Picture the dinosaurs as giant puppets running across the screen and two children. It also lends itself beautifully to a full-fledged dance number. When we did the book launch, actually, at the end of June, at the Vie Gallery in New Jersey, which you're going to talk about in a little bit. Vie Gallery. We also had readings from the book, but in conjunction with the readings, Johnny Chamness choreographed dance numbers that would go along with the action. And it lent itself beautifully. Everyone that was there at the opening were enthralled with the dance performance and how the story was so easily interpreted visually as a dance.
So
So there's a lot of things.
So we'll be right back on the Preston Lopez Show.
Thank you.